All right. Good evening, internet, and welcome to another Friday night here at Bimji Streams, the channel that I have unfortunately not have had the pleasure to rebrand since 2022. It's been a whole long couple of weeks since the last time I've seen you guys. How have you guys been? We're back now. We have a new episode of Geeks at Sea, your fortnightly show where I pull in people that I've come to know somewhat to come and share a little bit about your experiences as geeks here within Southeast Asia, right? So joining me here this week is Luke, uh,
I thought I
aka
bumped something over as I did that.
aka Nera. I
Yeah.
yeah Luke, I have to ask. I should have asked this off camera with you, but like it does it do we stick with Luke? Do I call you like by your full name? Are you particular about like whether we call you by your full name, or like do we just stick with Luke? Because every time I say Luke out loud, I keep having the urge to say like I'm your father.
Okay, if that's a real issue for you, just call me Nera. That's perfectly fine.
All right.
Luke is just what most people call. That's not even my name. My real name is Lukesh,
All right.
and a lot of people can't do that SH pronunciation because
Oh
got that
god.
Indian flair. So
You've
Luke
got to
for
do it with
most
the
people,
flair, right? You've got to do it with the flair.
or Nera. So if Nera's more comfortable, since
No, it's
Luke
not.
is your father.
It's
No,
not.
that's not more
No,
comfortable.
no offense, but Nira sounds more like a girl's name to me.
That's fine.
I don't
Go
mean
with Luke. Go with
I
Luke.
don't
That's
want to
perfectly.
sound condescending or patronizing to anyone. This is not a sexist thing. This is just purely like, hey, the last I checked, Luke here still very much identifies as a guy, and like with that in mind, you know, I it's I think this is something that I, as the old fag that I am, do struggle with time to time, where I like if you use what would people of my age be very generally considered to be female names, and
Mm-hmm.
you're obviously a guy, um
Mm-hmm.
like that disjunct is just gonna short circuit my brain a little bit,
Yeah, no, I get it.
you
I
know.
mean, personally, it feels a little more neutral,
Yeah, yeah,
but
but this
it,
really just highlights like the differences in culture, right? So
yeah,
anyways,
for sure.
so yes, anyway, for those who are new to this segment, who've never seen this show before, or has never seen this channel before, Geeks at Sea is basically a small little thing, as I said earlier during the opening, where we come down, we talk a little bit about our history of growing up and exploring our mutual geekdoms, our geeky pastimes, and the things that make us kind of thing, and explore really about like how things have changed over years, and whether for better or for worse, it's a conversation, right? So with that in
Mm-hmm.
mind, keep in mind I have two quick disclaimers before we start. Disclaimer number one: everything here, take everything here with a huge grain of salt. We are unreliable narrators for our own lives. I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone what I was wearing 6 years ago at a particular day or date. All right, so keep that in mind. Number one. Number two, through these conversations, we may talk about certain organizations or groups that we were a part of. If you've ever been a part of organizations or groups yourselves, you would know automatically that the opinions of the individual rarely are representative of the whole organization. So keep that in mind. We are not, if we do speak about things that we were part of, we are not speaking on behalf of everybody. Just simply our personal opinions at the time, as and when. All right. So,
Yeah.
with that in mind, with that done, Luke, let's get right into it. Tell me,
Okay.
what was your first geekdom? What was the first geeky thing you really got into, and
Mm,
how do you get into it?
Okay. So that's a layered question for me,
Hmm.
right? Because there's so many ways to answer it. What's the first ever geeky thing I was into?
Hmm.
Probably Lord of the Rings, which is
Really?
very surprising. Yeah, very
Okay. So,
surprising.
so I have to ask this one because
Okay.
all cards on the table. I was introduced to Lord of the Rings thanks to, no joke, the movies. I've never read the
Same.
books.
Same.
I've never read the books. I've tried reading the books. I couldn't get past like a single paragraph before the language kind of just like got like
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've read it once just to have that check mark of, aha, I've
Nice.
done it.
Nice.
But honestly, the books are kind of hard to get into. I won't lie. Yeah, so that would be my first. And I'd say the age I started watching that, I mean, yeah, I got introduced to movies too, right? I started watching that when I was 5.
I have to ask
So,
then, Nero. I have to ask then, Luke. If you were
yes,
5 when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, how old are you now?
I'm 25 this year. 26 in 2 months. 2 months. 26 in 2 months.
Happy birthday in advance then.
Thank you. But yeah, I was 5 when I first watched it. I don't even think it was when it came out. I watched it after the fact because I watched it at home with CDs.
Oh.
So
Okay. So like you had the CD collection for it, is it? Was it the DVD
all
collection?
3. No, CD collection of it. All 3 of them. It was the flip open kind, where there are 3 discs per single movie.
Nice. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was super fun. So backstory on that. My dad bought it because he wanted to watch them. And whenever my parents are busy with whatever they were doing, they would come back home to find me watching Lord of the Rings. And the joke is that I watched Lord of the Rings once a week. The entire trilogy. Because it was so nice. I just watched and watched and watched and watched.
I mean, we all have our comfort shows, right?
Yeah, that's basically it for me.
But for a 5-year-old,
hey, what can I say? People with swords, elves,
did
Nazgul.
Did Gollum not scare you at all? Did Gollum not scare you at all?
No, I thought he was a cool character.
Really?
I didn't understand him when I was younger all that much. But as I've grown older and watched the shows more and more, it's like, okay. I just thought he was cool. I didn't understand the dichotomy happening there for most of it when I was young.
So nothing about Lord of the Rings actually scared you as a kid?
Nope.
Wow.
Nazgul were cool. Scary, but cool.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So the first ever geekdom I fell into was that. But the first geekdom I chose to be a part of.
Right.
Oh, okay. First geekdom I chose to be a part of, I would probably say was League of Legends.
Really?
Yeah, that was when I was 14.
Okay, so I have to ask about this one because now I'm a Dota guy.
You're a what guy?
I'm a Dota guy.
Okay. Dota 2.
Actually, Dota 1.61 actually.
Oh, here come the numbers. 1.61.
Yeah. The reason
okay.
The reason why I had to be specific about it was because I know people who were really, really into Dota, and like the peak for some people was like 1.5 something, I think. And and that version of Dota for some people were like, oh yeah, this is the real like version of it, because you had like really crazy shit that you could do. 1.6 was when it started like really giving a shit about balancing a little bit more. So like some of the craziest stuff you don't see anymore.
When was the 1.6 patch? Just out of curiosity.
I can't remember. It's been too long. Yeah, but
I have a feeling it might have been on the up and rise of League of Legends too.
Yeah,
that caused that.
I really don't know, but I really don't think that might have been necessarily the case. But in any case, so yeah, so I was so here's the thing. So I played Dota with a friend, and he introduced me to the game. And then what happened was that he walked me through the game, and together we sort of learned the game hand in hand. You know, I would go as far as to like pick up on like weekly. I would organize weekly matches so that we would play together. In cyber cafes and stuff, like, and I would like call up friends and go like, hey, let's get together and play and shit.
Cyber cafes.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think I've only gone to those once.
My
and of all games, I was to play Maple Story.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But
We
yeah,
will get there.
we'll get there. But yeah, so the reason why I'm asking was because, like, I swear I would never have picked up Dota if it wasn't for a friend.
Yeah,
Was it
similar
true for you?
story.
Is it?
Yeah,
How did that
same.
go?
So, all right. So, some backstory.
Hmm.
The talkative person you're seeing now isn't always very talkative. I kept to myself for the most part in a lot of things. So, it kind of changed in secondary school when I started being around, people who were more like me, and I got to explore my interest in that way. Actually, have a bit more pocket money to go do those things, right? So, what started as a small TCG group with Vanguard, slowly evolved, slowly evolved into, uh, you know, one person tried league, 2-person tried league, 3 people tried league, and then soon enough it kind of spread throughout the entire friend group before it spread throughout the entire cohort.
I have
And
to.
then
No,
yeah,
finish up. No,
yeah.
finish
So
up.
yeah, personally, I was introduced to it by a friend called Gerald,
Mm,
and him and we took the same bus home because he
mm.
lives like one bus stop down. And one day when we just got out of school waiting for the bus, he was like, "Hey, look at these." And he showed me like a list of League of Legends champions, like, choose one. I was like, what? He was like, choose one that looks cool. I'm like, okay. And I scrolled and like, this guy looks cool. And he like, oh, that guy can do XYZ, blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, I'll download it. So I downloaded it, played it for 2 weeks, got my ass kicked. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to play this game no more.
Mhm.
And then 5 months down the line, I picked it up, and I've never really put it down since.
You're still playing today?
Still playing today.
Oh. Okay. So what I wanted to ask was that because you just your TCG group.
Sorry, your audio cut out some.
Oh no, hello. Are you okay?
I think for a sec I
Okay,
couldn't hear you.
So sorry, it could be something else on my end. Right. So as I was saying, like you were saying earlier about being a part of a Vanguard TCG group. What was that all about?
Yes.
Like
Okay.
how did that come about?
Okay, so again, same thing, right? Because I'm kind of like a square.
Right.
I'm like academics only, blah blah blah. And a good friend of mine, I think it was, honestly no, I started Vanguard with Gerald as well. Because another friend of ours, Ken, he started the game first, and then I think, I don't know, he was like, hey, we should go to the card shop near this school and get a trial deck and try this game. I was like, okay, sure, I guess. And then I went there, we bought a trial deck, I played with Gerald, and then soon enough I'm buying cards and being broke again.
So this was so you went to a local game shop which was near your school at the time.
Yeah.
And you guys bought a trial deck and like you guys just started playing from there on.
Yep. We played for like a year-ish. And the reason why I wouldn't consider that one of my geekdoms is because it was contained within my friend group. I never like made effort to go out of it. Whereas with League, while yes, it started with my friend group, I did go out of that friend group and, meet people, go to events, go to tournaments, stuff like that.
Fascinating definition. Fascinating delineation. No, because
yeah.
Look, part of these conversations are always interesting to see what comes naturally to some people when they're sharing their stories. So the question is always like, oh, hey, what was really top of mind and stuff. I for a fact myself, one of the things that like when I have some people that I know for a while who I put on the show and all that, I know in like at some level that we would have some common like sort of basis or foundations of where our initial introductions to our mutual geekdom start. Like some of us were really into comics. A lot of us would start off because our parents would bring us to salons or barbershops and stuff like that, and they would have just comics sitting by the tables, coffee tables for like kids to read while the parents are getting their hair done, whatever else there is, So that's very often a starting point for a lot of us. But sometimes through the conversations that we have, that's not what really comes off the top of mind. You know, so sometimes like the ones that are the most vivid in their heads are sometimes conscious choices, like the one that you just suggested. Like it's the one where he consciously said, yeah, I this feels like something I want to get into.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So after your friend's introduction, like you've played a little bit, you as you said, you get your caboose handed to you. What made you go back, and what really like held you?
Okay, so as with every season since I started the game, it was the World Championships that brought me back to play.
Fascinating.
Cause this is very important. That was the year Taipei Assassins won, and that was the year I found out Taipei Assassins played in Singapore. And I was like, oh my god, they played in Singapore! And then I picked it back up. And even though I got my ass kicked, you know, just the same, I was like, no, I got this. TPA. And then from there, it was like, oh, Singapore Sentinels, old school League of Legends players in Singapore. We'll know them. SGS, very beautiful. And then I even went down to the Garena Stadium to watch games because it's fun, it's cool, and I said the thing about how the world's event always brings me back is because you know obviously I go through periods of I don't feel playing League, and then world seasons runs around. I'm like, oh, those moves! Look at those moves! Look at those plays! And I'm like, all right, I'm back. Let's do this.
Okay.
And I play for a couple months, and I fall off again. And then world season starts up. I'm like, okay, let's play.
I can never. Man, like I could never. I tried to pick up League at one point, and one of the difficult things was really recognizing the things that I would have to learn. Simply because I play Dota, and like I know, like, oh yeah, I have like this, like all the heroes are heroes that I eventually have to learn. You know, at some level or another, you have to know what works with each other and what works well against each other, and like how your placement and your positioning would matter and all that kind of stuff. And like there's stuff that are almost I'm not that good, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I want to put out there, like, I'm not that great. But like despite that, like, you know that if you want to play at some level, you sort of need to have some level of foundations. You need to know your stuff and all that kind of stuff. And like when I go into League, I go like, holy shit, there's so much to relearn effectively. Then I'm like,
you know, I'm actually I wouldn't say very, I'm kind of sort of qualified to talk about that because recently I've been well, not recently, but like over the past year or so, I've been teaching my girlfriend how to play League. And like half the things that need to be taught, you don't even think about after 10 years of playing. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I needed to say that it's not muscle memory or like it's natural to do certain things.
I still remember like the first time a friend of my friend, which I was learning how to play Dota with, right? Like he introduced me to the idea of last hitting. And
that's a concept.
And we, like, I refused to do it for like God knows how long, for like months in the initial games we were playing. And it was only with, I can't remember what was it, but like eventually, like I eventually like someone was doing it to me. A friend of mine was doing it to me because as I said, I was playing with people that I knew.
Do you mean denying?
Yeah, so basically denying me on my side, right?
Okay,
I realized like it started hurting so bad that you're like, holy shit, you don't have a choice anymore. Like you're
forced to learn how to do this.
Exactly. Because if you don't, when somebody does it to you, it's just way too disadvantageous.
Trial by combat.
Like, it is just you just get abused, you know?
Yeah.
In the process. So
you learn by getting smacked.
Right, there's no choice. But but there's so many things that you have to, like, concepts that you just have to learn and time and learn intuitively to feel. A lot of it is like, especially when it comes to like projectile travel speeds and like
Yeah,
attack speeds and
that
stuff like
one's
that.
another one.
Yeah, that was really you getting used to your individual heroes and characters and all that kind of stuff. I still remember like at one time, I like one of the things that I went through. Funnily enough, like it got me partially also more and more into game design. Was I went through this phase about understanding the calculations behind the stats, to the calculation behind the numbers, to like the damage types and all that stuff, and then eventually transitioning into like, oh hey, wouldn't this hero be interesting, you know?
No shot. We both at the same kind of upstart wanting to get in game dev.
Right.
All right, so here's how I got into game dev. Right. So I was like, I think a couple months in the league now. Starting to really play a good bit more. And my cousin, he was 2 years older than me, so he was looking at poly courses at the time when I was 14.
What year was this?
When I was 14, 2015.
2015. All right.
Yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, you remember when he came to me one day when we were at my grandma's house celebrating somebody's birthday, and he was like, hey, you remember those games we used to play as kids? We used to play like imaginary things where we designed characters and we played as those characters, right?" And it's like, you remember those things? Apparently, there's a whole discipline dedicated to that called game design. I was like, what? That's a thing? No shot. And then it's like, yeah, I'm gonna apply to S.E.A game design. And I was like, oh my god, okay. And then I went to read up on it on my own. It's like, wow, this is actually a thing. I'm like, holy shit. And then I realized Riot actually puts out like dev videos like that and stuff. So I even remember which videos specifically got me, was like, this is what I want to do. And it was the video where they talked about designing Zaya and Rakan. It was a video where they talked about the music of Freljord. And there was one more that right now, it is another music composition one and how they approach designing champions. And I was just like, I watched those, I'm like, oh my god, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that. And then from then is this, I was like, okay, I want to get into S.E.A game design. How do I do that? I went to talk to people in like all the different polys. I actually even went to all the polys to do their game dev courses to see which one was good, which one was not as great. And then, selected mine, got in. And then in there, I went to talk to DigiPen people, blah, 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 trying to understand what they're looking for in their students. Made sure my portfolio had that. And then, DigiPen student. So it's like,
sorry. I thought it was more. It was like DigiPen student. I didn't know it was the end of a sentence.
Well, okay. That's the end of it for now, because that's where I'm at. Right. So what's the next part of the journey for me? We'll see.
I was like DigiPen student, and I was like, that tone was just hovering ever so slightly that I was like, it's like, is there more? Is there?
Oh, okay. Technically, yes, right. Where I'm interning right now in an indie studio. That is where it's currently heading, and currently seems to be the trajectory. But as we all know, it's a wild market out there. I don't know if I'll be able to keep this up for very long, but I hope to. Obviously, I hope to.
See how that
goes.
But
we'll see how that goes.
Did you ever make a hero for League of Legends? Did you ever design one just for the fun of it? Because I don't know how the environment is like in League of Legends. So as a fact, by the way, because I don't know whether you know, but like Dota started off as a mod for World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay,
yes.
So because that was a thing, what happened was that a lot of the fans were like gathered around like certain forums, different forums at the time, and like different fan forums. Some of them would have like, we're gonna make our like the people will just make heroes for fun, that kind of thing. Some ideas actually, like some of the communities actually actively became really, really active in the sense that like you would see real good, solid, well thought out designs going through that churn. You got people who literally got sort of the attention um of how to put this, like the rest of the community really, really well. Like there is a certain level of maturity amongst those within the forums. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So unfortunately, I think I was a bit too late to catch those kinds of waves. 2015, not exactly the time for those kinds of connections anymore. However, yes, I did. Yes, I did twice. So, firstly, like when I was first getting into it, obviously my design skills were shit. My programming skills weren't there. Nothing was up there yet. So I was just writing on paper. It's like, wouldn't that be cool?
yeah.
Mixing those abilities this way, blah blah blah, designing some cool stuff on paper and just imagining it in my head. And then the second time I did it for real was my final year project in SP, where I made a multiplayer online battle arena thing with robots. And I was the combat designer, skills designer for that. So I did my own designs. They all came to life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then I was partially wondering to ask, partially because like I still remember when I was doing this, like strangely enough, so I did a couple of designs on my own when it was for the Dota stuff, and there were a couple of ideas that I played around with, but the one that stuck with me the most, believe it or not, the one moment that stuck with me the most was this one moment where I threw out a design, it bombed so bad that one of the, like, it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
There are a lot of problems with it and all that kind of stuff, but like there is this one guy who we've had some like back and forths with on the forums, right? Like he actually messaged, he actually replied to me inside the forums itself, like open for message there, and he actually went, dude, I expected better out from you.
Oh,
He
wow.
actually said that, and to me, like to a lot of other people it would have been stabbed in the heart, but to me it was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's really nice because you know that he's basically effectively saying you're capable of so much more. This is beneath
Mhm.
you. You are capable of so much more. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Unfortunately, I don't think I've had that experience yet,
yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to think that you shouldn't want to look forward to disappointing people. But at the same time, I do feel that it's like it's at moments like that that you realize that you've set a standard and people sort of expect it from you, and it's kind of nice.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it is kind
It
of nice.
is. Yeah.
So yeah. I want to ask then, what was the what we're talking a matter of first, what was the first game you've ever designed? You as a game
Ever
designer. Yeah.
designed? Okay. I'm sure I'm
Oh wait,
90% sure
sorry.
that was.
Oh wait, no, yeah,
Oh,
no. Let's talk about the games. Sorry, I want to hold that back. We'll go back to that one a little bit later. I
okay.
kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Let's talk about, because you're a game designer and you just mentioned like, hey, your first geekdom was League of Legends. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on that one. What's the
Yeah, yeah.
first game you've ever played?
Okay. So the first game I ever played, again, I'm gonna split up, give you that complex answers
Yeah.
that you'll get used to from me. So the first game that fell into my lap, as with Lord of the Rings, was
Mhm.
I don't even know the name of the game,
Right.
but it was basically like the early 2000s game where you play as a little aeroplane and you're flying around on the PS1. And I played that with my dad because he brought home a PS1 out of nowhere one day. And then he plugged it in and it's like, hey, come play. And I'm like, okay, I'll come play. And then we loaded up that Toho like game. And we just played that for like 2 hours. That was my first ever memory of playing a game.
What was
So
the
that was really fun.
was that your first
Yeah.
console as well?
Yes, the PS1 was my first console. I
Yeah.
got that old person head shake. Somebody had a GameCube or some shit like.
I was running on my first game was on a floppy disk, you little piece of shit.
Okay, see, I have played games on floppy disk.
Yeah.
Because my grandma's house had like that fat computer, and then I played some weird rabbit game on there where you were jump. It was a 2D platformer. and you were collecting carrots. I don't even know how old I was. I just remember
Shit.
you had to put the disc in and then you played it.
So was it a hard disk or was it a floppy disk?
Floppy disk is the one that looks like a save icon, right?
Okay. So here's the thing.
Oh, there's a difference.
Here's the
Okay.
thing. They're both technically called floppy disks,
Okay.
but only
okay.
one is technically floppy.
Wait, are you actually floppy? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't think I played with the
So
floppy.
the save icon that you know, right, looks about like yay big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is roughly the save icon size, and this is actually
Mm-hmm.
like what most people think when they talk about floppy disk. The
Yeah.
one that predates it is something about this big.
Damn, that's huge.
It's
The fuck.
bigger. It's bigger than your CD,
Uh-huh.
but it's smaller than an LP.
I don't even know what that is.
Um. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, your age is showing.
Yeah.
Oh.
An LP is basically a vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
You know what a vinyl is? You young sick
Yeah,
fuck.
I no, see, I know what a vinyl is because I have a vinyl back there because
Cool.
I like that kind of things.
Good to know. So yeah. Yeah. So it's smaller than a vinyl, but it's larger than a CD.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And by the way, that's what some nuclear codes are placed in, just so you know. Like that's what some
Wow,
people's rocket science is done with. But
that's crazy. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that was like the hot disk, the save icon.
Right. So the one that I played was on one of those bigger, like those actual floppies. So you need to do is you need to put it in, and you'll boot it up, and you play this thing.
Okay. No, I have to ask,
Mhm.
how was the insertion of the floppy disk?
So that's the crazy thing. It's you have to put it in, you hold it in, and you close a tab.
No, wait, that's the thing like
No.
or
No. Like there's a
you know what? Hold on, I need to Google this right
so it's a there's a slot that's like I let me see whether I have anything about the right size. Okay, it's something like almost as wide as this, but just slightly like longer.
Yeah,
Because,
but is it like filmy or
yeah.
hard?
So it's flimsy. It's roughly the same like texture as this. Yeah, actually, this is about the right size. Slightly smaller. This is about the right size.
Okay,
Slightly
no, I'm
smaller.
seeing it here. Yeah, I'm seeing it here.
And it's like it'll flop around like this.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
So you had to like both hands it into
well, you
the.
don't have to both hands it. It's not that floppy. Like it's still somewhat rigid. It's not paper.
Okay.
It's not paper. It's cardboard.
Yeah.
The best way you can describe it is like cardboard.
Okay.
So you have to slide it in. Then what happens is, well, you hold it in because like some of the machines don't have like, some of the machines have an auto ejector, so you have to hold it in, and you close you close this lock that keeps it in, and then you'll boot up, and then after that, when you're done with it, you
Oh
like
my
flip it open and it'll just
god!
bounce out.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Oh, I like to joke whenever I listen to this kind of old things. The ancient law is being revealed today.
Yeah. So so when other people are like talking about like age and shit, I'm like,
Yeah, I can't help you there. You're old. I don't know what to tell you.
Just for anyone who's listening, right? Like anyone who's actually like bothering and covering all this stuff. One of the large reasons why I actually really do want to talk about this more than anything else is because we're living in an age where these kind of things, these kind of stories are very easily recorded down. Like the only reason why they're not is because no one's bothering. But the fact is, right, like in the last 20-30 years, we've went through at least anywhere between 4 to 5 different recording formats. And I don't even mean like just like file formats. I'm literally talking about like devices. We moved from floppies to CDs to laser discs, or even CDs to DVDs, and then now we're straight up just like, you know what, screw it, we're just gonna do hard discs. And even hard discs are going to like solid state now, and like some are even going further than that. So yeah, so WTF, right? And like this itself, like how we carry data and how we store data and all that kind of stuff, that itself has like transited and changed completely in the last 20-30 years. Like we're the only generation that has lived through watching all of this. Like from computers being a rare one per household kind of thing, like one device per household thing, to like two per pocket kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like we have a like we for every household on average there's at least like at least like one for every butt cheek in that household.
Are you including phones in that count?
Yes, obviously I am.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure.
And just so you know, I'm also including your home assistants. Yeah. So like your Alexa, your Google Homes and stuff like that. Those
You
are
don't
computers
see.
in your
I'm
home,
actually.
right?
I don't have any of those.
Yeah, but
There are a lot of phones in the house though, and
correct.
computers.
Correct. So there's a minimum of like one per butt cheek.
I ain't gonna count it, but I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah. See. Anyway, because even if it's not true for your household, there are a lot of other people that's going to make up for it.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. So we live in that's the world that we have lived past, and some parts of this conversation is really just to recognize the changes that's happened. Yeah.
It's really now that you point out, it's like really interesting. Just like damn, it has changed a lot. Holy shit.
So when people my age goes like back in my day, like older like guys who are like 60, 70 are obviously going to go like, what are you talking about, you little young fart? But like people my age are literally going like, dude, do you know what we've been through? Like I know it sounds very superficial. We did not go through a war. To be fair, we did not go through a war. We did not like struggle the same way our parents did. And if you think that that's a bad thing, I think that's something wrong with you. Not the point still. But we did go through a lot of changes which are completely weird and unheard of. The fact that the internet didn't exist 30 years ago, not in the same way we would, you know? Like I was telling Luke, was just off stream. It's like I live like he did not his entire existence does not predate Google.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Mine does. and that
feels
is
like a flex of some kind.
Right. And that's not a flex. That, if anything, that just means I should be fossilized soon. Right?
Yeah, sure. That's one way to think about it.
Yeah, but that's but anyway, but yeah, like so when we're talking about our first games, right? Like really it's also a comparison about like what we come to expect to see from our games and stuff. My first game was this old weird game called Karateka. It's a sideways platformer where you're playing like it's an 8-bit character where you walk like you literally just walk sideways. There's a button to punch, there's a button to kick, there's a button to jump, and like you go around in this like grayscale setting bits and stuff, and then like halfway through there would be a eagle that would run at you, and then you have to punch it, you have to time it so you punch it right so that it will die and stuff like that. So like it's a platformer.
That's so weird. But okay, yeah, to tie it back, to tie things back here, because I was supposed to give like a more complicated answer on what my first game was. The first game I willingly chose to get into was, I'm sure a lot of Singaporeans and Asians out there in general will know, Maple Story. And here's a fun fact. I still play Maple Story. In fact, I kind of want to go play Maple Story after this.
Okay. No, I have to ask about that one a little bit. How did you get introduced to Maple Story? Because you said you chose it, right?
Yeah. So as always, right? I first heard about it from my friends at school, primary school this time. And, you know, I was just chilling in class doing whatever primary school kids
do
back then, yeah. And then I overheard one of my friends. He was talking about playing Maple Story. And it's like, you know, I was kind of tuning him out. And he was talking about, oh, you know, he got his third job on Bishop. and he's like using these cool abilities. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What's going on? And then he was like, oh, it's this game, Maple Story. I was like, what's that? And then he started talking about it more, and then a couple other of my friends joined. And I was like, oh, you play Maple Story too? Oh, you play Maple Story too? I was like, oh, okay, I need to go join. I need to go play Maple Story. So I went home that day, and this was like back in, I don't even know what exactly was, 2006 maybe, or something like that. And then it was okay. I went to my mom. It's like, do you have a laptop I can play games on? And she's like, she gave me like an old work laptop. I was like, here, you can go do stuff on
Aww.
this. I'm like, okay. And then I downloaded it. I was like, I remember calling my mom every like 10 minutes, like, can you help me do this? I don't know how to figure it out. And she would come over and like help me do stuff, and she'd walk away to go do things. And I'm like clicking around. I was like, I need help again. And she'd come back, and I'm pretty sure she also helped me key in my like ID and password because I didn't know what to make for them.
So I have to, like, I want to just share a little bit on that one. You experienced what essentially is the opposite of everything that people of my age experience. Because what happens is, like, you had your parents, like, you asked your parents to solve a lot of your tech issues. You know what I mean? Like, people of my age get the reverse, where we had to solve a lot of tech issues for our parents.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's becoming that nowadays, where I'm solving all the tech issues now. But hey, when I was 6 or 7, I was like, Ma, I need help.
What's a password?
Yeah, or like I'm typing the password, but it's not letting me do it because there were like restrictions that I didn't understand. Yeah. So then after all the setup was done, I had to download it. Right, it took me 2 days to download the thing, and like I remember I would wake up in the middle of the night to just go over and like, is it still downloading? Yes, it is. Okay, back to sleep.
Luke, I have to ask, did you ever experience dial-up while playing Maple Story?
I can't. I'm not sure. Honest to God, I'm not sure. I feel like I might have, but I don't think so. So
okay, so the easiest
I'll probably
test,
have to call my mom in here and ask her.
the two biggest tests for this is very simple. Number one, did you through the entire time playing? Well, sorry. Number one, did you ever hear that loud screeching of a modem?
No.
Okay, that's number one test. So I assume that either you really have never experienced dial-up, or you might have coincidentally ignored it. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two.
Very possible. I was young.
Yeah, exactly, right? So number two. Did you ever fear someone answering the phone?
No.
Yeah, you probably then never experienced dial-up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So just so you know why that was a test, was because the iconic ring of a dial-up modem, like if you've ever heard it, it's like a banshee's cry. You'll never forget it. You've heard it once in your life, you'll never forget it. Like it'll just be with you for the rest of your life. That
yeah.
I think it's just something that you'll carry with for the rest of your entire freaking life. Right? So that's number one. Number two, and the reason why that's the second question I was asking is really important is because I, like, me and my wife and everyone I've ever talked to, when we were growing up with the internet the first time, when dial-up was like, was the only way you can connect to the internet, you always use your house phone line. It was always your house phone line.
Like you had to plug it in?
No, yeah, you'll be using your same house phone line because you use the cable, right?
Oh, then I definitely had Wi-Fi. I never plugged anything.
So that means you're definitely post that whole landline thing. Because what happened was that, like, you'd plug in like the thing, and then you hook it up to your PC, to a router, and you hook it up to your PC. And then what happens is the instant anyone tries to pick up, excuse me, the instant anyone tries to call you, you still be online until someone picks up the phone. When someone picks up the phone, the signal gets cut off on your PC, and you have no internet for the time until someone puts it back down. So
yeah, I could never. I'd be so upset if I got disconnected from Maple Story. My game, my map.
Yeah, it's like can you imagine if you're like playing like Counter-Strike nowadays or something in the middle of your match and stuff like that, suddenly your internet just dies because someone decided to call you like no, it's no fault of that guy because they will have no idea you're gaming, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Sasuga
Yeah.
Sasuga technology. This is how far the world has evolved. Aren't you happy living in like
What?
this
Wait,
new?
wait, wait. What did you just say in I'm assuming Malay?
No, Sasuga technology.
What is that?
Sasuga is in Japanese, man. Like it's like it's like uh so it is kind of thing. It's a really hard concept to
So
translate.
it really, really shows you how useful my Japanese lessons were that I didn't even realize that was Japanese.
No, I did it with an accent, so it's really hard to tell.
Okay,
And
okay,
especially
okay.
when
So,
yeah, and especially when most Singaporeans don't know Malay that well. When the
yeah,
last
I
word
know.
was pronounced with a Malay inflection, it's a lot harder to tell.
Aha! I was debated. That's what that was. I was
Uh,
primed.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
yeah,
just a sec.
yeah,
To tie back the Star of Maple
yeah.
story. So after 2 days of download, I went to create my character, and here's the kicker: I made my character on the wrong server and played it there. So I never ever got to play with my friends, anyways. Okay, back to what you were saying.
Well, okay, no, I do want to ask though. Then, if that's the case, like, so what kept you playing though? Because MMOs, as far as I knew it, were for most people like stuff that you do with your friends. But if you weren't
Yeah.
sharing in that experience, what exactly kept you in MMOs?
Okay. So, for Maple Story specifically,
Mm.
what kept me playing initially was that it had really cool graphics for I was gonna say for 7-year-old me, but no, even right now at 26, 25, Maple Story still looks so good. It has this
Reassured, man. Reassured.
it has this timeless charm to it. And
Yeah,
you know that 2D platforming
yeah.
chibi looking characters just tickled my 7-year-old brain the right way. And in addition, you know, back then it was super hard to level up and
Mm.
stuff. So like half my playtime was walking around town looking at the highlights and like, whoa, he looks cool. Oh,
Nice.
oh, he looks cool. Or I'm trading and then some high level dude comes into the map, uses come, oh my god, what was that? I'll like run after him and look at his stuff.
So it's a lot of excitement of discovery kind of thing.
Yeah, there was that. And you know, what helped too was that guess who started playing Maple Story with me after a little bit? My mom.
Nice.
Yeah, she started playing Maple Story with me, and you know, she played a lot better than I did, obviously. And you know, she got way higher level than me, and like I was just tagging along with her everywhere. She joined a good guild, I joined a good guild because I was her son. And you know, these people were like so much further ahead in terms of progression. Like you know, they would take me to go do stuff because I was their bishop's kid.
I can't help but to ask then, like, do you still game with your mom?
Unfortunately not. She
Oh,
kind of dropped off. I've tried occasionally to bring her back to play with me, but she's never really taken on to it. And, like sometimes when she comes to my room and she sees me playing Maple, she's like, "Whoa, you're still playing that game? Like what level are you?" I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm XYZ level." It's just like, "Wow, it goes that high now." I'm like, "You should come play." It's like, "No, I'm too old. Too many things to do."
that's gorgeous. Like I can't imagine it because like there's so a lot of people at my age, right? Like our parents have actively said like they're not familiar with gaming and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them, like first and foremost, were never introduced to it. They're not comfortable to it with it. You know, it's always new to them. All of this is new to them. What happens is that more often than not, like they'll go like, oh yeah, this is too much for me, I can't deal with this, I can't do this and all that kind of stuff. So eventually they just never game, they just never do, you know.
Mm.
So you can't
Yeah,
get them to go into it, unfortunately, because there's nothing
my
about it.
mom.
Like everything feels foreign and weird and different for them, right?
Yeah. My mom
So,
actually still plays games. She just doesn't play PC games or console games.
what does she play?
She loves her phone games.
Like,
Like right now, I know she plays Monopoly Go.
Oh.
She has like 3 phones that she'll like every time during dinner she'll lay her phones out and she's eating and like clicking all the buttons. And then she'll go to my brother, hi, I need your phone to do Monopoly stuff. And then she'll take my brother's phone and goes and do stuff.
Okay, so that's going to be I'm strangely surprised with, which is how far like people of that age, or like of a slightly higher age group, are willing to go to play what essentially is social casual games. Like they will they will have multiple devices just to I've seen uncles like drive around, like walk around in, like not really walk around, but go about in bicycles, and like they have this huge setup of like 8 different phones playing Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say when Pokemon Go is going, there are like aunties riding around bicycles
Exactly.
with like 5 phones. Like, oh my god!
Exactly. And 5 is on the lower end of this shit, by the way. It's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah. I'm sure. I am sure. But yeah, I mean, so I know my mom plays it because like my aunts play it as
right.
well. So they have like a little chat group where they all text about what they're like text about stuff going on. And it's just funny and like cute. Like, you know what, enjoy yourself. You like it, go enjoy it.
That's fantastic. Did you ever get into like board games and physical games and analog games in general?
Okay, so board games. Yes, I want to say yes and no, right? Because while yes, I have gotten into some of them, I never really went like deep into any of them. And the only one I could even remotely say I got remotely close to was Dungeons and Dragons. But then Dungeons and Dragons, I only play online, so it's like,
as in like a Discord thing, or
so stuff. So my Dungeons and Dragons journey started on a little game on Steam called Tabletop Simulator, where there's like a full board there.
Yeah.
You can build the whole
Yeah.
thing and you just move your pieces around. So it started with that, right? I think it was like a year of that, where I found some friends and we clicked really well and we played games with each other. And then when that died down, it became Roll20. Are you familiar with that?
So I've heard of it. Unfortunately, no.
Okay, it's a virtual tabletop where you're given a grid. You can upload tokens, upload maps, whatever you want, and that's kind of my main area of playing. The last, I want to say 5 years of playing Dungeons and Dragons.
So you still are playing?
Right now, no, I'm kind of in the hiatus. Like I was running a game last year about this time, and then that kind of fell apart, and then I was on a hiatus for a bit. Found a new group, picked it up with them. They also kind of fell apart, as most online groups do. They fell apart, and since then I haven't really gone to commit to a different group because, between internship, between Final Fantasy expansion, between there's a bunch of different things going on in life, I just like haven't had a time set aside to go, okay, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
So analog games are not your big, huge thing for you, at least.
I really like chess and Scrabble. I see that laugh. Don't laugh like that. Come on.
I'm smiling. I really am. So it's
okay.
It's charming that people are still into it. I have a friend who's really into chess. Like he's really into it. No joke. He's one of those guys that, like, I still remember at one time I was trying to explore board positioning for a game I wanted to make, which was I was trying to do a board game where I wanted to explore positioning and stuff like that. And chess was my go-to, immediately my go-to, because chess moves are sort of classic positioning, concepts and stuff like that, right? So I went to him, and one of the big questions, one of the great ways I felt like it was going to be a nice way to start, because it was a part about chess culture that I never really understood, was chess puzzles. Because like I've done puzzles before, obviously. The problem here with chess puzzles is that I've seen chess puzzles and it never made any sense to me, because you there's no way that you can guarantee that the player won't act somewhere in between, because there's so many ways that they could act, you know.
Mhm.
And he explained to me very simply that, oh yeah, but like if you did that, then it would be inefficient. So what happens is that the argument with chess puzzles is always that, yes, there's always different possibilities in between the final result, but they will always be less efficient.
Yeah.
And he walked me
Point.
through some of the puzzles and like how it's supposed to be positioned and stuff like that. I've unfortunately lost track of some of those lessons. But I still
It's
remember.
okay. Just learning those things are like, ugh.
No. But it was very, very insightful. And it really, if
Really?
anything, gave me a larger respect for him as a player, because
Mhm.
we were working on a bunch of stuff before that. Like we were working on some games and all that before that, and it was always feeling like he wasn't quite catching what we were trying to do. He struggled with it, and all of the ideas didn't really work, and a lot of that feedback wasn't really that good as well. And I've come to realize that it's really just because that's how he chose to approach a lot of subjects, where he prefers to like be as, like, at least from his stance, is like as objective as possible.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
me, that's not very helpful when you're trying to do game design and when you're trying to play test your own game, because you do want to have a very strict sense of what is functioning for the objective of the game that you want to do, and what do you really think should be removed from the game, that kind of thing. So you
Yeah.
need to be stricter about it. And so yeah, so there was a lot of like friction. Actually, not friction. Friction is a really bad, poor choice of words, because friction meant like as though we would go into blows and stuff like that, which was never the case. We're very civil about the whole thing. But there was always
Yeah.
just a little bit of like tension in terms of like, oh, what I kind of needed or wanted from him as a person who was doing this whole project with me, versus what was actually coming out of him.
Mm.
So when I went through the chess session with him, it opened up my eyes. It's there's this way of thinking, and that is uniquely true of chess that I don't have. And it was clear to me that he has spent so much time thinking about this game that the way he looks at it is just significantly more matured. Showing basically fundamentally at the end of the day is that he's very capable of that level of maturity of design and thought, but it's just purely because he's not as exposed to, as I am, for example, to the genre or the tropes of the genre that we were playing around with.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Like, I mean, making mobile games right now,
Yeah.
like the kind of mindset shift I've had to have going from primarily designing PC games in my academic career
Yeah.
to designing mobile games has been so huge, right? And it's like every single mechanic I design for mobile games, it's opening my eyes more and more to what mobile game design is all about. And it's actually really interesting. As like you delve into it, it's like, okay, this is how you do it for mobile. Like I kind of know what I want to do because history of PC games. It's like taking it to mobile. How do you do it better? How do you do it design centric, with the focus on mobile in mind? And there's a lot of little subtle things that happen that you don't really think about until you start doing it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Or specifically the game I just released, right? I played so much mobile games. It's actually ridiculous. The most mobile games I've ever played. And every single time I played, it was to collect data. Like, go through a tutorial. It's like, okay, this is how you design mobile games tutorial, because PC game tutorial design a specific way. And it's like mobile game tutorial design okay, maybe not a specific way. I saw the little grimace in your face there, but just there's a way you design it. You can design it on PC. And mobile games is like a hard right. Throw all that out the window and you're going somewhere else.
I suppose. I I mean, not to bury the lead, because we are talking about like our first games and what we were exposed to and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like strictly speaking, when it comes to like designing between like PC, mobile, or console, I tend to see it as how you frame the player's journey in terms of the first hour. Like what do you want them to experience in the first hour? And some part of that ultimately is going to be tutorial. So the question at the end of the day is like, how much do you expect it to be a tutorial? How much can you shift back to? And trying to be more particular about what you want to what do you want to prioritize, as opposed to something you can push to the back, So on PC and console, the audience is different, so you're allowed to have more leeway. The mobile space, especially if you're designing for free to play, tends to be more buckshot, and as a result you have less wiggle room. You have to be stricter with your time and how you, for lack of a better term, or though to be fair, this is actually a very healthy way of looking at it, how much you respect the user's time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also been a eye-opener for me, right? Designing mobile games. It's like stuff you do on PC does not work on mobile, and you to be successful, you need to have that mindset shift.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. Like, I've always been a bit of a pain in the caboose when these kind of things. So I've always been ultra strict about these kind of things anyway.
Yeah.
So it's never been.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. So it's never been a thing where it's like, oh yeah, no, we can get away with this. I'm like, do you really want to?
Not even in the sense of getting away with things, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about designing the best experience you can.
Right.
But it's also true that the best experience you can on mobile is vastly different from the best experience you can on PC.
Yeah. That's a limitation of the medium itself.
Yeah, and it's also the demographic you're designing for, because PC tutorials will not work with mobile users.
A lot more nuanced.
Like straight as in, okay.
Well, we're going a little deep into this tangent. Let's just break it there for now.
Yeah. All right, let's loop back.
Yeah. So I did want to. So I did want to ask, partially because interesting curiosity of mine based on what you've shared so far, was that like you've never really got into board gaming, from what it sounds like. Like, despite the fact that you've played like Vanguard, which is a TCG, but you've never been into, say, stuff like say Citadels or Dominion, or I don't want to say Cards Against Humanity because that really doesn't count.
It's not a board game. That's a party game.
Some people still consider it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people, unfortunately.
It's all cards on the table. I suck at Cards Against Humanity. I really do.
Oh,
it's
but that just means you got a dry sense of humor.
I do, and it's absolutely horrible. It's actually because, in part because I do such deep cuts on like some of these stuff that no one gets it.
There's like layers to think through. and Cards Against Humanity is good for the not thinking crowd.
Yeah, it's just not great for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so as I was saying, but you never got into all these kind of board games and stuff like that, is it?
No, so I tried. I did try, because there were very cool things in that front, but it was a mix of physical games being significantly more expensive, and I was a kid, and also that, again, I was really shy until I got a lot older, so I didn't have somebody to play with, and my brother is too young because he's 7 years younger than me. My parents were busy with work and life and stuff, so it's always just me, right? Like, the first big board game I bought was the World of Warcraft board game.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it was pretty big, right? And then I opened a rule book, and there was so much to read, and I couldn't really wrap my head around everything. So what I ended up doing was I took the cool miniatures and we're like peddling them like that instead of playing them as they should have been, right? And then hell, even now, right? Back during Table Conquest, I bought starter kits of Conquest, and the only reason I bought it was because my brother is finally at an age where I can go, hey, you want to play Conquest? And he's like, yeah, let's play. He's like he's 100% nerd like me, right? He likes to move army soldiers around and do shit. So we like my mom likes to play mahjong, so we have a mahjong table at home, right? Like we would set up on opposite ends of the mahjong table and then play a game of Conquest. Like that's fun. That's fun.
That's sweet. That's
yeah,
so
it
sweet.
is.
I'm surprised you haven't introduced your brother to like Magic the Gathering or something.
No, see, that's mostly because I never got a chance to get into Magic. I tried. It's too expensive. Too expensive.
I have a lot to say on that topic.
Okay, you know what? Since Magic was brought up, I tried to get into Magic.
Right.
I bought a starter kit. Hell, I even bought one booster box when I tried to get into it, right? And in the process of making the deck, I think it was a white-green deck that I played. And I played against my cousins because they were playing Magic at the time. And I played it. I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then I was like, okay, let's go look up like as you're playing. And then I'm like, okay, let me go look up a deck list for something that can play around the cards that I have. And I think the Planeswalker I had was Ajani, and I really like Ajani.
The fact that
like the whole, yeah.
Oh no! Like the fact that your first Magic Furrow had Ajani says a lot.
Yeah, because he like super late to the game or something. But essentially,
back in my day,
we're getting grandpa stories together.
Planeswalkers were the card. Artifacts had a brown background.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah. So it was Ajani, and the whole design of Ajani and a lot of characters like Ajani have always intrigued me, like the half lion, half person thing.
Furry
like
thing.
Renga was on. Yeah, it's not furry. It's not furry.
Why is it not furry? Tell me, how is it not furry?
No, see, furry has a sexual connotation that is not present with Ajani. I just think the design is cool.
Just because you don't find him hot doesn't mean that there's no one else does. Fucking furry.
Okay, sure. You know what? Sure, Ajani. Okay, so
don't Ajani shame. Don't Ajani shame.
Oh my! I love Ajani. What are you talking about? Okay, so Ajani, Rengar, King from Tekken, all these somehow became my favorite characters, and they all have the same.
King's a very weird choice simply because King's actually a mask.
Okay, the same thing. They have the same style of design where they had the lion head, the human body. I was like, that's cool.
Does Hercules fall into your set then? Like, because Hercules had that whole like lion of
no. I need the whole head to look like a lion.
You don't want you want a human face in between that kind of thing. It doesn't,
no. Just
that breaks
give
the
me
immersion for
Ajani
you.
Renga.
That breaks the immersion for you. All right, cool.
And, okay. Ajani Renga specifically also has the very interesting fact that they both have white fur.
Okay.
And here's a little extra on the top. I think it leads back to, I think it was Power Rangers Wild Force, which I was very into when I was a kid, where the cool dude was a white lion. The non-mainline Power Ranger was a white lion.
Yeah. The actor for him passed away, by the way. Did you know?
I was like, oh man, no, I didn't. What?
Jason.
Yeah.
Jason. Oh crap! I can't remember his full name anymore. I think it's Jason Franks, if I'm not mistaken. Shit.
Yeah. So.
So the actor passed away.
Ever since then, it's been like any white furred lion dude. I like the guy.
I'm just gonna do a quick check on this one because I really want to get this one right.
Okay.
So what was it again? Power Ranger.
Wild Force.
Wild Force. White Lion, right? White Tiger.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a white tiger. White tiger. Oh no, that's a girl.
No. There was a white lion too,
Okay, let me look for White Lion then.
or maybe it's a white wolf or something like that.
Okay, let me just look for Wild Force. It's a little bit easier this way. Oh no. Okay, there isn't one. There's only a white tiger, which is female. There's a red lion.
No, I have it here.
Okay.
He is a wolf guy.
Oh, it's a wolf?
He's the Lunar Wolf Ranger.
Oh, Lunar Wolf Ranger. Okay, then it's somebody else then. Where is it? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's somebody else then. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So the one I'm thinking of was the original Green Ranger.
Original Green Ranger. Oh,
Yeah.
it might have been that too. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Correct. That was back in the day. So that was my Power Ranger when like I was introduced to the whole thing.
I watched that shit too.
Yeah. So
the White Ranger there.
Correct.
Very cool.
And yeah, unfortunately the main actor, like the actor for yes it is Jason David Frank. He passed away 2 years ago.
Was his Megazord a lion?
No,
It was.
Was he?
Yes, it was. I have it right here. The White Tiger Zord.
Oh yeah, no, that's not a lion. That's a tiger. You just said it out loud.
Oh,
What the f you're talking about?
oh, same thing.
Yeah,
Same. Okay. Not really, but
get your feline species in order, man.
oh my. Okay, as long as it's feline, looks like has that
You are
feline head, person body. Very cool.
It's like a meerkat to you, isn't it? It's like, oh no, it's the same thing.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
No,
a meerkat's not even a
meerkat.
cat. I think a meerkat's
They're
not
like-
even a cat.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah.
Anyways, yes.
So
So
we're talking about board games and stuff. The reason why I'm asking is in part because I was always very curious because it's one of those things where I personally got really into it because in part because I had friends who would play, I had friends who were really into it and it would pull me into it. I have a friend in KL who every time I go back, every time he hears that I would go back, he would message me and say, "Hey, dude, do you have some time? Let's play a game or two. I've got a couple that I'd love to like we can sit down and play together and stuff like that." He would pull me out for sessions and stuff like that. You curate a session, literally going like, "Okay, we're gonna have this warm up one." So like he has this like small mini games. That's like, okay, we're gonna start off with this. Then we go to the main one, and then like if you finish the main one and you feel like you want to have more, we can either have a separate session or we can have like we can warm down with a third game altogether kind of thing. So
okay. Yeah, I've never had a friend like that.
it's amazing.
I'd say
guy.
maybe the closest I've had to someone that did do that was Caleb in Digipen.
Nice.
But like outside of that, no one who's ever been that interested in board games.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm fortunate that way. So he was responsible for a lot of my board game education. So he walked me through a number of like different things. Sometimes he would just bring a board game because we were working on that same project I mentioned earlier. And then what happened was that he would literally bring in a game just to prove me wrong or use it as an example of like what you should and couldn't do.
Yeah, that sounds like Caleb. When I made an argument about stuff, he's like, next class I'll bring a board game and see how you're wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was also the same guy. Like he would be and once again I'm very, very thankful for these people, right? Like he would actively go like, "Jared, you're wrong and I'm going to prove it to you." And during a playtest session he would intentionally play it to be annoying.
But those are the best kind of people to have playtest your game.
Exactly, because like I as a fact, he was the guy who really hammered into me how hard it is that when you're making your game, you have to be wary about how people play it, because some people, for whatever reason, they just don't reasons that will go beyond your own preconceptions will figure out ways to intentionally ruin it for everybody else.
Isn't that the thing Blizzard said? Players will ruin the game, will ruin the fun of the game in the name of optimization.
Oh, I have something to say about that.
Okay.
Just as a quick response, once again, not to bury the lead, I'm doing a talk next month, and that is actually something that I'm actually gonna make sure that it's a thing that I bring up, because it is actually a bit about what a game means to players and recognizing what that means to players. Because when you play a game, one of the first questions every player always asks is always, how do I win? It's literally the first question every player asks. How do I win this game? Right? And that actually gives you a glimpse into psychology behind games more than you realize. Because deep down, in the heart of hearts for all of us, we can talk about how much like the experience itself is rewarding and interesting, and you grow as a player and whatever else there is, right? But on a very, very fundamental level, whenever we play a game, we always expect winning to be the most satisfying part of playing a game. Right? This is something that's implicit in all of us. You can say whatever you want, but like you deep down, you never want to lose a game. Right? Just let's be honest with ourselves. Right? Right. So because that is true, what happens is that the player always believes, and he can be very, very stubborn about this, about how much winning brings satisfaction, brings joy. So they will work their way to that end, because that is the end that they come to recognize as the most satisfying part of it. Because they believe that you as a game designer has promised them that joy. So they will slog through everything with the anticipation of that joy.
Yeah. Sounds like League of Legends.
See what I mean? So when that joy doesn't come, you finish the game and the joy doesn't come, they get disappointed, they get sad, and they don't want to play your game anymore.
That's not true. I've lost so many games of League. I'm still here slogging it out.
You're just a masochist, man. but fundamentally, that is how because there must be other places that you're deriving joy from. So you figured out somewhere in between where winning the game is no longer the core source of joy. You've learned that, oh, maybe I can derive joy somewhere else. But for a lot of people, like what happens is that they will go like, okay, let me try and do that. And if the learning process, the process of optimization and leveling up and all that, right, does not provide them some semblance of joy, if that doesn't make up for the loss of winning whatever else there is, they'll just drop the game. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no. You know, surprisingly, I actually had just that experience earlier. So on the way home today, because it was a really long bus ride, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to play a mobile game just to get a feel for it. And I was playing Vampire Survivors, their mobile port of it.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, this shit is so hard. And it's like, I could not, the leveling speed, the leveling curve was not like engaging enough for me. And it was like, it was really, really, like there were a lot of friction points in their mobile port. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to keep playing this. I was like, I'm going to go brain rot on TikTok for like half an hour. Like the last little leg of my journey instead of playing Vampire Survivors, which was wild because Vampire Survivors is wildly popular on PC. I haven't played it yet on PC. I was like playing that, I was like, ugh.
Oh, sorry, you're done? I thought there was more.
Oh no. I mean, okay, the only thing I could maybe add on to that was like, you know, maybe because I've been designing mobile games for like the past 3 months, like my brain is mobile game coder now. I feed off attention. I feed off them.
Okay,
my
if you want a really good Vampire Survivor-esque game, I cannot speak to Vampire Survivor itself because I've never tried it, but I cannot recommend Holocure enough. The fan made Holocure.
Could you spell that out for me?
Holocure. It's a fan-made game by a games dev called KU. I've actually mistakenly credited the game to somebody else when I first streamed it last time. But like but the guy is amazing. and I say guy in a gender neutral way because I really don't know who they are.
Is this on PC or mobile?
It's on Steam.
So PC.
Yeah, I really don't know whether they have a mobile port for it, but it is amazing because that guy did this like as a fan game. Like I don't know how big his team their team is. I suspect it's just one person. I suspect that if I bothered myself to find out, I'll probably find out. But like they're just insane. Like this is the work. It's a work of love through a good number of years, and it has come to include everything, like all sorts of different things. So it started off as a Vampire Survivor. It has now come to include things like fishing games and like deco stuff, and there's even a casino section that's been upgraded recently. There's like a micro gacha environment as well. Like it is like if you ever talk about games as like as products of passion and love and stuff, like Holocure is the very, very like pinnacle of it as far as I'm concerned. And it is a reasonably, deeply reasonably good game, and it has no business being as polished as it is.
I actually want to search it up on Steam right now.
Please do.
It's free.
Yes, that's why I said it has no business being as good as it is right now.
Oh my god, it's free.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is how, like, when people talk about games being a product of passion, like this is literally it. Like,
yeah, that is as passionate as it gets. Dude's not making any money from this.
There's literally people who have told him, "Can we give you money?" And he says, "It's okay."
Bro, if I was this man, it's like, yes, give me money and let me make this game better.
Anyways, but I like, so part of this conversation, as I said, like it's about sharing. I did ask partially because like it's always curious to see how people go through sort of their game experiences. I grew up as eventually, like one of my first games was Karate Kid. I got really into it after that. But I grew up with Snakes and Ladders and chess and all that as well. Like it was my first introduction to games. But the thing that really started like opening my eyes to what more complex games can be was actually a defunct TCG called BattleTech. Like most of you guys have never heard of it. The IP is like barely active nowadays, but it's like if you're familiar with MechWarrior, that was the IP that's based on. So
really,
yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize it started as a TCG.
Oh no, it didn't. It started off as a computer game, and then what happens? The TCG came out.
Okay.
So yeah, so like the first, I could be mistaken on this one, but if I remember, like if my memory serves me right, like the first 5, like the biggest first 5 TCGs that were released around the same time as Magic the Gathering, including Magic the Gathering, were like Magic the Gathering, Legend of Five Rings, Lord of the Rings, BattleTech, and one more I can't recall. I think Netrunner is one of them as well. I'm not sure on this one. Yeah, but basically these were the first 5. You can look around. I think most people will land on a similar list. I could be wrong, but I think it's this 5.
I'll recognize any of them.
Yeah, and most people wouldn't, because of this 5, Netrunner came back quite big for a short while, and eventually died as well. BattleTech never came back. Last expansion was somewhere in the early 2000s, I think, and then after it just never came out again. Lord of the Rings never even came back. Like
someone in chat, Keyforge, does that ring a bell to you?
Keyforge is relatively new, so it doesn't count. I'm talking about the first like early 5, that kind of thing. Then the other one I think I mentioned was, yeah, no, I think that's it. Like Netrunner, Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings. Legend of Five Rings. Legend of Five Rings is still around, but it's not sold. Like it's not supported anymore. I don't think there are any new products coming out.
Okay.
In fact, even Netrunner falls into that same space where you can't even get product anymore. what is floating around in the market right now is just pre-existing product that's like existing amongst the fan base. So you buy.
Do people play them?
Yeah, you do. In fact, in TableCon, like the last TableCon, there was some guy with a booth that was actually selling Netrunner and teaching Netrunner. I was so surprised because, as I said, I know that there was no new product coming out anymore. Like they stopped producing it. But they were
So
just.
I'm guessing those things are really expensive.
I don't know. I didn't ask because I wasn't planning on buying product myself. Netrunner is a game that I deeply respect, but I cannot play, mostly because the game exhausts the crap out of me. Oh, Vampire Masquerades is one of them also, by the way. Vampire Masquerades is also a really, really old TCG. Thank you very much, Damien.
I thought that was an RPG.
Oh, no, there was also a TCG for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I only know about the RPG. I didn't know about the TCG.
So a bunch of stuff. In fact, the concept of Magic the Gathering, at least as a game, right, first came out as intended as a game. The creator, which is Richard Garfield, would play in between sessions of D&D. So the idea was like they would like, oh, here's a bunch of cards, let's play a small game, and then skedaddle off that. So that's why like a lot of the initial cards in Magic the Gathering were based off like characters in from their D&D sessions and all that stuff. And some of the characters even based off like their friends and family and stuff like that.
That's cool. I wonder if Ajani was one of them.
Oh no, Ajani is like way too far away. Like there's
Oh
no
man.
way. Yeah, no. You're talking. Ajani was like literally.
Okay. Give me a sense of timeline here. Where's the start of Magic? Where's Ajani?
Planeswalkers started sometime, if not mistaken, in the 2010s, if I'm not mistaken. So
really,
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the 2010s.
Okay.
Because I started playing. So I was involved in. I was playing at some level the Malaysian Grand Prix in Kuala Lumpur in 2000.
Oh wow!
Is it 2002? No, it was in 1998. I was playing that one in 1998, I think, roughly, or 2000. I can't remember already. So that was the time when I was playing, and then
1998. I wasn't even born.
Yeah, so somewhere between 1998 and somewhere in 2000, you were basically yeah. So yeah, it's
around 2007.
Yeah, it's around 2007, right? So exactly, so it's around like almost 2010s, that kind of thing. So yeah, so it was very, very much later. So what happened was like, because Magic first started in 92. So Magic first started in 92, and then what happened was like when I started playing, it was around, yeah, it was about 98, like a little bit earlier than that, but about 98. Yeah, a lot of the cards that I was playing around with back in the day, if I still had my full collection, would have been worth a lot of money.
I'm sure. I've heard some of those prices. Oh my god.
Yeah. I had at one point I had a signed Gaia's Cradle, and I think that's like
what that is.
A Gaia's Cradle by itself is like worth $500 now.
Holy shit! I mean, I'm assuming you didn't have a Black Lotus since you didn't say anything about that.
No. Black Lotus was well before my time.
Oh, so that's like the only like prized Magic card I know.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, the Gaia's Cradle, like, oh god, that was worth like surprising amount of money. And the fact was, it was relatively, when I was playing back in the day, like it was still difficult to get your hands on, but it was relatively like possible.
Okay.
Anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah, but the reason why I was asking is because as I said, like I got introduced into reading card games, and then I got friends who were really into board games as well. PC games I got really into partially because of Dota, and then partially because funnily enough, I was really into DDR.
Wait. DDR?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify it was an audition because I know that was super huge.
No. I'm talking about the one that you jump on a mat.
Okay, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
considered a video game? That sounds more like an arcade game.
It used to. So yes, it is. And like what happened was that I was introduced to the idea in arcade, but then I found out a friend of mine actually had the mat at home, and they had the PS1 version of the game as well.
Okay,
So
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, so I would jump over to his place, mooch off him, and we would play over and over again. In fact, one of my closest friends, my best friend, was just at my wedding recently as well. I used to hang around his place a lot, where both of us would play DDR at his place. Yeah, he's an incredible, he's an incredible DDR player, by the way. We shifted between a couple of dance rhythm games in the process. Like we went through DDR. He picked up Pump It Up. I never did. And then after that, both of us got a little bit into Easy to Dancer.
What's that?
Ah, that one's a cool one. You know what Pump It Up is, by the way? Pump It Up is basically, so you know DDR is up, down, left, right?
Yeah.
Pump It Up is the diagonal spaces and the center button. So you remove, it's basically the inverse of DDR.
Oh, I've seen those machines
Yeah.
at like Time Zone and stuff.
Yeah, Pump It Up is a Korean machine and it's really relatively like popular at one time. So Pump It Up is that one. Easy to Dancer is 3 steps. Basically, it's left forward, right forward, and then back, and then 2 hand sensors.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so Easy to Dancer is a lot of fun because what happens is that like on a default mode, the sensors work both up and down. So so what you do is like, you know how, and then I never got into Para Para, by the way. You ever
Don't know what that
Oh
is.
god, that is definitely before your time.
The only one I'm familiar with is DDR. Anything else?
It's
That's
okay.
out of my realm of understanding.
So Para Para was 7 buttons. But what happens is that instead of buttons that are directly in front of you, it's based on a sensor that's like directly on top of your head to the floor. So it's like 2 to, I think it's 5 actually. Come on, anyway, I think it's only 5. Could be wrong. Yeah, it's only 5. I could never get used to it because I couldn't get a sense of where the sensors were because they were too far apart. So like it was supposed to be like, oh, there's in front of you, and then there's here, and then there's here, and all you need to do is just swing across in time. So like the idea was like the sensors were that far apart so that you can like do whatever you want and still be able to trigger it. That was the idea. I never got to hang of it because it was like it's just too far apart. I couldn't sense like where the sensors were. Yeah. So Easy to Dancer was the in between, and it worked for me.
Outside of DDR, the only other one I know is the one where they slide with their hands and they're like doing.
Oh, that's my.
They're doing.
They're
doing Doctor Strange magic.
Is it the one where you're touching the touching
like
ring,
the circular string? Yeah.
Okay, so that one's my. That was known as my. I keep referring to that as doing the washing machine.
They're doing Doctor Strange magic.
To me, it's like the machine itself looks like a washing machine. So I can't get over the fact that, like, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a giant washing machine. Like everyone's just doing the laundry.
Yeah.
I never get over it.
That's so good. That's actually so funny.
Thank you.
Washing machine.
Yeah, man.
Disrespectful as hell. I'm sure with any of those players in chat, you'd be getting roasted.
I mean, look, I still remember like one of the dumbest things with being a fan of like dance machines in KL, right, was how poorly maintained the machines were. And I can't even fault anyone about it, simply because when you went to the arcades and stuff like that, you would hear people stomping on the machines, and a lot of it has to do with the simple fact that they can't control, like they don't know how to land properly. So you hear this guy who's like stomping to the beat, like and then and the problem is that you know the buttons are getting killed, and it's actually an escalating problem, because when people play with those buttons that way, the sensors get numb, and then somebody has to press harder to actually activate them anyway, so it gets harder. It just gets worse and worse, and it's just
vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. It just starts a vicious cycle. So you really need to, like, number one, you need to make sure that people don't treat it as though like it's a punching bag, and then you also need to make sure that it's properly maintained. Otherwise, people are going to treat it like a punching bag.
I wonder if you could put like posted signage of no stomping, fine $100.
Nobody will follow. Nobody will follow.
Yeah, but if you start stomping and the dude, the
yeah,
attendant comes through and is like, "Hey man, get off the fucking machine or
yeah,
pay up."
I know, right? I wish they took more better care of it, because I still remember, like, I have so many pleasant memories of easy dances, and the only reason why I stopped was some of them, like, literally the floor sensors just didn't work anymore because of some idiot stomping on them like a pig.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Absolute trash. But yeah,
It's unfortunate.
yeah. Anyway, let's move back. We're in a 90-minute mark.
Like tangenting everywhere.
These are how conversations go, right? So we're on we're
Yeah,
at a 90-minute
that's
mark right now. I do want to ask with the last first one for you. What was the first game you've ever made?
okay. That one's relatively easy, right? Well, the one I remember, because I'm sure there was some board game design class before that never got anywhere, because that's just not what I'm interested in. So, the first ever game I made was a 2D platforming horror game. And the reason why I chose horror was because that point in time, Alien Isolation was going about like making crazy waves around the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that game?
No, I'm not.
Oh, it's a good game. It's basically like Amnesia, but with the alien from Aliens vs Predator, the xenomorphs.
You do realize
right?
that, like, I'm old enough for you to just go like the aliens from Aliens, and I would have got you.
You see, that's a very specific reason why that happened. My first introduction to aliens was from Aliens vs Predator. I'm getting the judgment, don't it? Okay, but essentially that was going around, right? And there was so many video essays online about how, they designed the AI to do this, that, this, that, this, that. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. It's like, I wonder if I can do something like that. Spoiler alert, I didn't. It was some weird fucky shit that ended up happening. It's my first year game design programming. So I was like, that was kind of direction I went towards, right? And then at that point in time, I don't know why specifically I chose this as my theme, but I did, and it was the Blair Witch. I chose the theming of the horror game to be around the Blair Witch, and I tried to write AI that adapted and learned how you play to do stuff. Didn't work, and I ended up just doing bouncing between walls. But I want to say, while that game wasn't super good, I learned so much about sound design, how horror games scare you, because I researched so much.
That's great.
I just couldn't execute on it because of a lack of ability on my part. Great. But I researched like crazy, and the entire game. Okay, so you understand, I was working with like a fresh graduate artist coming out of secondary school with no art background. So I want you to just take a guess the software she used to give me art for that game.
MS Paint.
MS Paint art for my first game. Shout out to you, Yuki. You're a great artist nowadays. I've seen your stuff, but god damn, that first game was something else.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, a horror game based around the Blair Witch. Tried to do some complex AI. Did not have the skills.
I need to really sit down and properly like fidget around with an engine someday. I've yet to find the focus or the time, because I've been like split between a lot of other deadlines and stuff that I need to do.
Honestly, you can try the visual scripting engine, visual scripting plugin in Unity. Yeah. I was watching my artist in studio work on it today. I was like, whoa, it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, but okay, I've got a little. I know this is. I know this is a horrible rationale, But I'm really not keen on exploring Unity nowadays.
Yeah, because of all the controversy surrounding it.
It's not the controversy itself, but specifically what it spells. Because like when there's a lot of things like people can like you know how they say like talk is cheap. You can say whatever you want about how we're listening, we're not doing this or that or whatever else there is, we're going to continue doing this or that whatever else there is. I don't know whether you know, but recently I think it was like a month or so ago, was it a month or two, maybe even more, they announced that they're no longer doing the runtime charges, the runtime fees. Do you know about this? Do you know what the story is?
I think I like heard something, but never
Right.
really took time to go look at it.
So
What's
so I'm going to give you a really short version of it. This is going to miss a lot of details, but generally, at one point Unity wanted to change the way they do they charged you, and basically said that we're going to charge you based on a tiering which is based on how many times your game is effectively installed, right? So
oh yeah, I think I saw that.
yeah. And once again, I'm shortcutting a lot of this stuff because there's a lot more nuance to this, and I'm not doing a good job at like explaining this is not the show for it. I did a show for it, by the way. I did a segment for it, specifically running over it, but like this is just not it. Right? So what happens is that they did that whole thing, and people came up and said, "Nani the punani, what are you trying to do?"
Nani the punani.
Yeah. By the way, that's my best joke.
I don't know. I've heard some other bangers from you. I don't think that's your best joke.
Yeah, that's my favorite one at least. So
okay.
So yeah. So basically, so the guy, so everyone was basically, anyone who knew anything was like literally going around going like, "Nani the punani, what are you trying to do?" And from what we heard, even internally within Unity, they had like no idea how you're going to do it. Right? So everyone was exploding, saying "Nani punani" and all that kind of stuff. And then what happened was that after the whole hubbub and everything exploded, they basically said, and keep in mind, they made this announcement, I think somewhere in October or September, October or something, like October, November or something like that. And because what happened was that this was around the same time that, like, in January, they would have the New Year's, like, anyone who needed to renew their subscription would be renewing in January. So this was like just 2 months before the terms were going to kick in. And a lot of people are saying like, this is ridiculous because we've been building our games for 2 months. Now you're telling me that this is going to apply retroactively, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of nuance to this, a lot of reasons why people will be angry. And it was all over the place. Because basically they dropped the bomb on people, and they basically effectively just pull the rug underneath other people because they are changing the terms while people have been developing with them for over 2 years. So there was a whole hubbub, and then they basically they took it back and said, okay, we hear you, quote unquote, we hear you, and we're just gonna do it. Jokes, please. You didn't hear squat. You just recognized that if the, like,
they saw their stock take a dip.
You effectively saw the impact it would have on your long, like how many people were willing to start like ditching you because of this, like conversations about actually pivoting, like figuring out to pivot to Unreal, and other people who were like, I would rather rebuild my game on Godot, like started coming out rather than to continue using Unity, and they realized the impact that it had on the entire thing. You know. And because of that, and then like after that, it took it back, it fell quiet. And like I think the general idea is like, oh, until we have a better plan, so to speak, or something like that. And then more recently, a couple of months back, they finally said, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. We're not doing the runtime thing anymore. This is we're going to continue like they basically affirmed that they're not going to do the runtime thing after what essentially was at least half a year of not saying anything beyond that. Like it's like the last time we heard anything was like them saying that we're not going to do it this year. Then this year it's like, oh, we're not going to do it and we're going to go back to the whole thing. And what it basically said to people like me, at least, was that it's not like they dropped the idea after the whole hubbub that happened last year. What effectively they were saying is like, oh, we're still going to try to figure out whether we can solve all these problems. And because after 6 or 8 months of trying, we couldn't figure it out, we're just not going to, like, we're going to give up on it. That's basically what they were saying. It's not that they understand or anything else like that. It's just purely like they couldn't figure it out and we're just going to drop the issue. You know, and they're hoping that that would give them some brownie points, like to sort of assuade you of any concern that they'll ever to try this, to pull this stunt again, you know, or try and do that. Which,
so just out of curiosity, what engine do you want to learn?
I was looking at Unreal actually.
Yeah, that's a great engine.
Yeah, so
like,
go ahead.
I wish I learned more of Unreal.
Yeah, so
I did some, but not enough.
Yeah, well, so Unreal, Unreal, from what I've been told, is very programmer friendly. So that's going to be a difficult thing because I don't have a programming background. I did sit for workshop on it. So like I got a little, you know, play through a little bit and like, you know, got to touch it a little bit, know how it functions and all that kind of stuff. But I was deeply disappointed with the workshop, like the way it was taught. So I'm not going to name names, but if you know who you are, you know who you are. Basically, I realized
doing the side eye over there.
I mean, so here's the problem, right? Like I realized that, and this is going to be a problem for me, and it's been a reason why I've not really looked into like existing courses right now, because I actually have two weird requirements for learning. One of them is that I need to be able to do that part-time. So that itself is an issue. The other reason is because I want to learn it in a way that's not just learning how to do it, if that makes sense to you.
No, could you elaborate?
So if you ever heard me talk about game design, right, it's very rare that I will go, oh, use this mechanic, and by using this mechanic in conjunction with XYZ mechanic, you would get this other result. You'll never hear this out from me, because I feel like that's a very superficial way of looking at mechanics. Basically, what you're looking at is input to stimulation, and that's all there is to it. What I tend to will always talk about when it comes to like talking about game design, right, is I'll always say, oh, okay, this game design works by putting this being the carrot, this is your engagement, like this is how you're supposed to control it, this is how it feels, and this is how the player should feel when they're going through it. And basically like how the you basically like the why behind everything works kind of thing. That's how I tend to like to think about things, and like to walk through people with theories and concepts and anything that we're trying to do.
Like as you're describing that, I'm trying to think, is that how you can learn programming? Because honestly, in my experience, that has never been the case.
Correct.
It's always been you learn the how, and then you figure out the why as you continue
Correct.
making stuff.
But the silly part, and the silly part that's really annoying, is that the thing is that the why, at least for me, is something that I want out of the course, out of the lesson. Because if all I need is the how, I can watch YouTube tutorials for that.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, shit, Brekkies has probably taught me more programming.
Correct.
Than like any professor.
Which is why like it makes it so much more difficult for me to pick up a course and like really sit through a course for this, you know?
I just don't think that's a very, pardon me here, a realistic expectation of a programming course.
Yeah.
Because what you're describing, right, is starting to sound a little more like what I know my friends did in CS,
CS, sorry.
computer science.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds like computer science level understanding of this thing works this way
Oh no, no,
because of
I don't
that.
I don't even need it to that level, because obviously there are levels to this, right? Like,
Yeah.
but what I mean is that at least like, oh yeah, hey, you want to, so once again, I'm just going to pull from an example based on the course that I sat in through, right? um there was this sequence where it was like, oh, you can pull the assets from here. Oh, you need textures, you can pull the textures from here, you can buy your textures from here, this is where your libraries are and all that kind of stuff, and this is how you can just slap everything in and stuff like that. So the
Hmm.
part that I really took a lot of, like, the part that was really disappointing for me was the way this was all described and showcased to me, right? Was like, oh yeah, hey, I need you to do this in order to do this, and then like this adjust this, like all of that, right, was very explained in such a way where it's like, oh, if you want a texture, you can pull from here. Basically, it's not teaching you how to make it your own. It's basically teaching you how to make it if you need to make it, if you understand the difference.
I think I get it, where it's
Yeah.
like they give you a package at the start, and then it's like, okay, if you want to put a image here, just drag and drop, but they don't teach you how to get the image there in the first place.
No, no.
Yeah.
You're close. You're close. I think the best
Okay.
example I'm going to give you is like, imagine if you're trying to uh to organize a party.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Someone's teaching you how to organize a party. They will tell you, oh, sorry, no. Let's say, for example, you're trying to organize a dinner party. You're a friend who's trying to teach you how to organize a dinner party, right? So he goes like, oh, yeah. Um, if you want food, you can order it off Grab. And then, like, as an example, he'll walk you through how to order food from Grab. So there's no teaching, say, for example, of, oh, if you want to make your own food, how do you go about it? Or why would you choose one food over the other? Or
Yeah. Okay.
and all this kind of
So
stuff.
for again, right, I feel like that's more of a self-exploration thing,
Right.
because in my experience with Unity, it's like once the teaching, even by university
Right.
professors, right? It's this is how you do. Okay, your task today is to accomplish X.
Right.
They'll show you one way of accomplishing X, and maybe they'll suggest you can go look into Y and Z on your
Right.
own.
Right. But
But today I'll teach you
right.
X.
But therein lies the difference between it. It's because the ideal here is like, the ideal case for me, at least for teaching, right, was always that they would go, okay, you get it from here, but if you want to make your own, you can do it this way, you can use this or you can use that, this is how you can like explore it, this is what the dials are meant for, do you can adjust this, you can adjust that, and then you can explore the rest on your own, what each individual one is on. If you want to find more details about how each of these dials are supposed to be here, you can find the notes here or look it up there, things like that. Like the idea here is about enabling, to me, what the course should be doing is enabling you to do that self-exploratory, not just specifically telling me how to make it without opening up the possibilities of how and why. Sorry, no, more specifically of like, yeah, basically about why. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's also just the whole issue of just programming in general. There's so many styles you can do it in, right?
so
Like, compare me to like my coworker, and we both have
yeah,
completely different styles of programming, but they both work to
right. So
accomplish the task.
right. So unfortunately, I have become a little bit um I don't know what the right word of this was, but like I think a part of me is a little indignant about the experience. Like, as in, it was so disappointing to me because my own expectations might have been unfair anyway, because it's a 2 hour long workshop. What the hell was I expecting, kind of thing. Um
That's true.
right. So but at the same time, it's so, like, I have so many problems with how it was done that I'm like this like it feels like it's very, the best way I'm going to describe you is like, it feels like very much the focus of it was very much teaching you the skills to make something so that they could tell people that the graduates of this course can make stuff. But can they make good things? The answer is NFI, man.
What's NFI?
No fucking idea.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that I got super duper annoyed with, and I really hate a lot of institutes of higher learning supposedly for this, because it's a lot of like training what essentially is vocational students out of the door, like, and they don't know how to think, they don't know how to process, they don't understand what they're doing. You can argue that it's meant to be like, oh, but this is all self-exploration, but the problem
Yeah.
here is that if you are not encouraging or enabling the self-exploration during these years when you're in higher learning, right, what are you really for? Because very few people while in the workforce are actually self-exploring, you know.
Wouldn't you classify that as a to put it in Gen Z terms, classify that as a skill issue?
It's yes and no.
Yeah.
I say yes and no simply because here's a simple question. And this is always one thing that I would often do when I'm leading teams, especially. A question I will often ask is always, do you know to question this? Do you know enough that you should question this? You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. If you don't, right, can I fault you for not questioning it?
Nah, it's the you don't know what you don't know.
Correct. Exactly that. So, and if you don't know to question this, that means me as a person who taught you, right, made a mistake because I didn't teach you to question this. You know what I mean? The same applies to school and all that kind of stuff as well. Like you call it a skill issue, but the question here is, do you know that it's a skill issue? That there is something that you should be doing better?
I also think maybe it might be a Singaporean education system thing, where a lot of us not really taught to question why. We just hear the how and it's like, okay, how?
Correct.
That's all I need.
Yeah, correct. So I
Because
don't
how
think
gets you the grades, why gets you the understanding.
correct. And I don't think this is a Singaporean thing. I think this is sort of an Asian thing to some level. But like at least for me, I'm not like if that is how you're going to be teaching a course, I'm just not interested.
Yeah, honestly, in my personal experience, right, you it's gonna sound real bad. It's gonna sound real bad, but if you can find a course that's being taught by an Angmo, it'd be great. Cause so far, in my experience with professors, right, non-Singaporean / non-Asian professors tend to be able to do that a lot better. Like there's two professors I'm specifically thinking about. Actually, no, there's like four that I've experienced personally. Right, it's Kevin Pryor. He was my professor in year 1 of DigiPen. Like all the students who couldn't adapt to his style hated him, but I loved the guy. He forced you to think and like, think critically and just go off on your own and just learn.
Yeah.
And then there's like, in my like year 3, year 4, Patrice and Holger from DigiPen as well. Both of them, they go about it in such a way that it's like they don't spoon feed you. They make you think as questions like, why this way? Why does this work? Why does this not work?
Right.
And it's like, it's so good. It's so good. But a lot of Singaporean students, right, they don't like that because it makes it secure. Oh, the rubrics are so vague. I don't know what to do. It's like, no, you know what to do. You just need to think.
Anyways, but yeah, it did leave me with this kind of weird position, like where it's really difficult for me to pick up, like look for a course that I can pick up, because sometimes like when you get to a certain age when life really, like, you have to juggle between life and everything else, the only real way you can really learn a new skill is if you go into a course and it forces you to spend a certain amount of time per, periodically, so that you actually commit yourself to that.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah, so it's one of those kind of things where it's really annoying at this point. Yeah. I want to return the favor. You mentioned to me that was your first game. My first game, believe it or not, was a TCG.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
I got inspired by my time with BattleTech, and oh wait, sorry, I suddenly remembered that one of the TCGs, earliest TCG was actually a Star Wars TCG. And the only reason why I suddenly remembered was because I was playing around with the idea of using dice rolls as a way to emulate the range of a of a artillery, because
Wow.
you would have
Okay.
cases where it's like, oh, I would have like misses and stuff like that, right? So whenever you do an attack, you would roll dice and like you might miss or you might hit, kind of thing.
That sounds like you're making a tabletop war game once you
Correct. I
have
didn't know
dice.
what the fuck I was doing at the time.
Because like as you're describing it, I'm like, huh, you know what that sounds
Yeah.
like? That sounds like conquest.
Yeah. So the gist of it was that I effectively like made one. The GTD is gone, by the way. I don't even know where it is anymore. But like, I was like, I think I was 16 at the time or something, 15, 16 at the time.
Uh-huh.
Largely inspired by like post Battletech, post Magic the Gathering kind of time, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally want to give this a try. And I didn't know at the time that Star Wars existed, and Star Wars was doing a bunch of things that were very similar to that. Like Star Wars actually played with dice as well. By the way, the
Okay.
dice thing was a part of the reason why Star Wars TCG died. People hated how random it felt.
Yeah, oh shit. On the topic of random TCG, I used to be a huge Hearthstone person.
Yep.
But like the amount of randomness is like slowly got introduced to it, right? Like yeah, it's controlled randomness, but sometimes, man, sometimes those
Yep.
high rolls and low rolls, like,
Yeah.
please end me.
So randomness is a weapon that most game designers don't understand, and
Yeah.
it's a thing that you have to figure out where you want your game to land on. But for the most part, if you're playing a card game, most people who play card games are cognitive players, meaning that they tend like to think out their solutions. And if
Yeah.
you fuck out their thinking with randomness, usually a lot of people get really unhappy.
Yeah. They do. I was very unhappy a lot playing Hearthstone.
Yeah. But anyways, okay, so we're at our tour mark right now. Lukesh, this has been a really, really pleasant conversation.
Yeah, likewise.
And for those who are listening in tonight, I just want to share, like, this is also a first for both of us, because after this, next week, in fact, I'll be starting a new segment with Lukesh right here, like Luke right here. I automatically call him Lukesh by, like, out of habit. Because that's how I sort of trained myself to do it. But yes, Luke right here, I'll be doing a new segment. We'll be doing a new segment called Designer Talks, where we'll be just two designers, one guy who's jaded as F, and one guy who's not even graduated at this point. And we'll be
period.
We'll be talking a little bit about the topics that sort of come around the games industry and stuff like that. We'll just share a little bit of insights and whatever thoughts that we have on the moment. We may or may not occasionally bring in additional guests along the way. For next week, we'll be starting something new, so it's just the two of us. Have we decided on what we're going to be talking about, Luke, next week?
As far as I'm aware, I haven't been told anything or decided nothing. So I'm gonna say no.
Luke is horrible.
Maybe. Let's chalk that up to a maybe.
Right. No, okay, but off the top of my head, the one thing I really, really want to talk about so far has been the whole Power World suit thing. I don't know whether that'll be what we'll be discussing next week. I hope it is, fingers crossed. But yeah, it is something that I really, really want to talk about, because it's going to be a discussion, hopefully, about the differences between trademark, copyright, and patenting, and how Power World got into the fascinating little bit of issues that they have, and what I at least assume Nintendo is trying to pull with this Power World suit and everything.
Yeah, I have my own takes on that.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're doing some shady shit. They're preparing. They're preparing for stuff.
So yeah, so something to look forward to.
Theory.
Something to look forward to next week. For anyone else, I hope you like this. I started streaming because I want to talk about games development and games design and all that kind of stuff. But since coming back to streaming, I've talked a little bit more about the history of geek culture here within Southeast Asia.
That's fun too.
Yeah, it is definitely fun. But I want to come back to it a little bit, you know? Like the Facebook page, which I share like my posts on, still has the border that says "Let's talk games," and I haven't talked about games in a very long time.
You know what? You know what?
Yeah.
Things change,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
over time.
Yeah, I once again, perpetual WIP. I will never change anything at this point. Yeah, so we'll put it out. We'll put out an announcement next week. Hopefully, be able to chat a little bit more. And if you're interested, I'm looking forward to having out everyone there. Right.
Yeah.
So till
Excited
then,
to see y'all in chat there too.
yeah. Till then, I'll see you guys around. Luke, do you have anything else you want to share before we go off? Like, is there a live long and prosper for you?
Sure. Live long and prosper.
Can you do it
See
with your
y'all
fingers or like wide open?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, do this.
Do this. Oh, this?
Yeah, and swap again. Not too bad.
Not too bad. Yes, live long and prosper.
Live
I'll
long
see
and
y'all next
prosper.
week.
I'll see you guys on. I'll see you guys. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone. That's us.
Can't tell if we're done.